I'm Tia Borden with MiningIR, and beside me is Ranj Pillai, the Premier of the Yukon. Thank you so much, Ranj, for
Thanks for
joining me
having me.
today. Can you elaborate on the unique aspects of the mining sector in the Yukon?
Sure. Look, of course, it's a massive jurisdiction. You know, it's about almost 500,000 square kilometers. Um, we've got 25 of the 31 critical minerals on Canada's list identified in our territory. Massive opportunities in copper, zinc, and tungsten. And of course, a long history of gold mining in the Yukon. And this year, the Yukon is celebrating its 125th anniversary as a territory. And yeah, it is. And of course, there's just a really long history of mining. You know, we've got incredible infrastructure for Northern Territory. We've got incredible people. We have, you know, the highest proportion of degree holders of anywhere in Canada. The only place in Northern Canada that has a university, Yukon University. And we also have this really unique ecosystem of prospectors, explorers, mine developers, as well as folks that have been around the finance side for a long time. So it's a special spot. People understand the importance of mining, and the government as well has been always at the table with the mining industry because we know how important the mining industry is going to be to do the things we need to do as a territory, as a country, and you know, as we pivot towards a clean transition.
I was just going to say, you're looking to transition more to a green economy. What are you doing to achieve that goal?
Sure. Well, look, first of all, our power grid is about 90% run by hydroelectric. And we have, in totality, probably 93% of our grid is either some form of renewable. So that, of course, that's key to the work. But we're now starting to work with British Columbia on looking at a grid connection from our grid to the North American grid. And that's going to be key when we see the substantial growth that's in front of us. The territory's been growing from a population standpoint as well as an economic standpoint over the last number of years. Really, we've led economic growth in the country. So with that, we're looking at how do we ensure that we parallel that growth with clean energy solutions. We also released a plan called Our Clean Future, which really focuses on our emission reduction, but also a series of different strategies that we're using to make sure that we transition appropriately.
The majority of our audience are investors. Yeah. What opportunities are there for investors in the Yukon?
Look, I mean, the Yukon companies have been performing extremely well. Our publicly traded companies. I'm not going to get into investment advice, but what I would say is that when we look at here in 2023, and we look at financing that's happening either across Western Canada, the Yukon, even with a small population and fewer companies compared to BC, has pretty much kept up with British Columbia on financing. Just yesterday, Rio Tinto increased an investment in one of our companies, Western Copper and Gold, a very significant world-class deposit and project. And then there's a number of companies here, Fireweed Metals, which owns now one of the top 10 largest tungsten deposits in the world, which is a very strategic mineral. So whether it's in the gold space, which has always been something that's pushed our mining sector, or in the critical mineral space, there's a ton of opportunity. Even when we look at the last number of years too, Canada's one of Canada's newest gold mine was Victoria Gold. It's helped drive our economy. And there's a number of other companies like Banyan Gold nearby, and Snowline, which is a really exciting opportunity out there right now. So there's lots of opportunity, I think, for investors. And we're just really focused on doing things the right way.
It is a great jurisdiction, and there are a lot of projects that are currently coming out of the Yukon.
Yeah.
Also, you guys are very focused on partnerships with First Nations. Yeah. What does that look like? What do those partnerships look like?
Look, we're in the middle of, I think, the biggest indicator is we're at the table right now, hand in hand with First Nation governments, building our new legislation. So we, all the policy architecture for our new legislation is being done like 50-50 with First Nation governments. And it's important to us. It's the right thing to do. It's a way to give certainty to the industry. And our First Nation governments and development corporations are also doing some extremely positive work, whether it comes to mine development, the service sector. We've got, one of the top drilling companies in Canada that's Indigenous owned. So all of our work is done with First Nation governments. And, as we move forward, whether it's through environmental assessment work or it's the work on our mining legislation, it's all done in partnership.
And what does the coming year look like in terms of projects and
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be it's really going to be an exciting year. We've got Newmont, which has been working on a project for a number of years. The sense is that they're looking at going into permitting right now to build a project. I think we're going to be watching what happens with Western Copper. Some of our more advanced exploration projects as well are moving in the right direction. And I spent some time with Hecla here yesterday, and as an organization, they're doing some incredible work. They've bought a project that's over 100 years old. They're looking to have a long future in the Yukon, and again, looking to see what happens. Minto, which is a copper project, went through some bumps, but now it's going into a process that we hope will see a new ownership group. So I think it's going to be a fun year, and hopefully we're going to see. Although the markets have been tight and it's been tough for folks to raise money, the companies in the Yukon have raised money, so they'll be deploying that through the summer. So I think we'll have a good exploration season as well in 24. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is great. Lots to look forward to, Ranj. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
No, I think the other important thing is, investors as well as companies look towards what government's doing when it comes to infrastructure. So we have a lot of things happening, and I think it's important for your viewers to know. We have about $500 million right now in public and private partnership that's being deployed for new roads and existing road upgrades, which is important. We already have about 5,000 kilometers of all-weather roads, but we're making sure there's more infrastructure in place. Some of our, significant bridge work, we've got a key piece of infrastructure is the Alaska Highway. We're upgrading a bridge right now. It's about $160 million being put into that project. We're almost in the completion stage of a 800 kilometer fiber line, which will give all of Northern Canada redundancy. It's about $100 million spend in total, really significant project. And again, just when you think about that work, and I would say the other thing that's important for your investors to know is we're building a new marine services platform, which is a port development in Skagway, Alaska, in partnership with the Borough of Skagway. And so just before I got on a plane this week, we allotted about $21 million towards that. Oh. So, roads, bridges. A lot
of development.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in closing, about $250 million into our airport, which is an international airport, which you normally can fly through the summer direct here to Europe. So
that's exciting because airports are, you need the easy transportation.
Absolutely.
Ranj, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me.